The Chiefs just stunned the Colts in overtime at Arrowhead Stadium by the final score of 23-20. And with this win, the Chiefs move to 6-5, and the Colts fall to 8-3. The Chiefs just saved their season. With their backs up against the wall, with the season on the line, the Chiefs went into the fourth quarter of this game trailing 20-9. In fact, the only time that the Chiefs were leading in this game is when Harrison Butker kicked that ball through the net, and the Chiefs won in overtime by the final score of 23-20. I simply can't really believe what I just saw. The Chiefs were not the better team today. The Colts were a team of, I don't want to say destiny, but they looked really good to start this game. But with their backs up against the wall, the Chiefs defense came to play in the fourth quarter. They forced 4 consecutive 3-and-outs, 3 in the last minutes of the fourth quarter, and then 1 in overtime. This Chiefs defense put the clamps on Daniel Jones, and they could not move the ball. Daniel Jones was a shell of himself in the second half, and even though if you just look at the box score, he was 19 of 31 for 181 and 2 touchdowns, they could not move the ball in the second half. The Chiefs defense in the fourth quarter turned up the pressure, their coverage was sticky, and they were able to force Daniel Jones to throw the football because Jonathan Taylor wasn't doing anything on the ground. He had 16 carries for 58 yards, with his longest being that 27-yard run. Kareem Hunt outrushed Jonathan Taylor. Kareem Hunt had 30 carries for $104 and 1 touchdown. We're going to talk about the Chiefs offense in a minute, but I think the Chiefs defense is why you won this football game. Again, 4 consecutive 3-and-outs, 3 coming in the fourth quarter, 1 in overtime. Hats off to Steve Spagnuolo and this defense. The Chiefs would not have won this game if Chris Jones didn't step up. I mean, they struggled early because they didn't get any pressure on Daniel Jones, but Chris Jones turned it on in the second half, and they were able to manufacture some pressure with some blitzes, and that is exactly what they should have done to Denver last week. That's how you beat Bo Nix, and that's how you beat Daniel Jones, by turning up the pressure and forcing him to make a mistake. And guess what? He might not have made a mistake in this game, but a 3-and-out is as good as a punt. A 3-and-out is a turnover, and that is exactly what the Chiefs were able to do to that Colts offense. But Lou Anarumo and that Colts defense had this Chiefs offense confused, upset. It was baffling. In the first half, they were only able to get field goals. The only time that they were able to, get across the goal line was in the fourth quarter. The Chiefs were trailing 20-9 going into the fourth quarter. They scored 11 unanswered points and then kicked 3 in overtime to beat them. So 14 unanswered points from the Chiefs offense. But man, it felt like for the first 3 quarters of this game, the Chiefs were lost. They had no answers. And it felt like when true desperation kicked in, that's when Patrick Mahomes and this Chiefs offense showed up. And I still think that they have some execution issues. They had the ball in the red zone a lot, and they weren't able to convert. One of which was a wildcat play with Travis Kelce, and it got called back. The touchdown got erased because Jawan Taylor had a face mask. Kareem Hunt fumbled the football on another scoring drive. So they really made a ton of mistakes in this game. But this is the first time all season that the Chiefs have won a 1-score game. So now they're 1-5 in 1-score games, not 0-6. But they also were in a position where, they were not the better team. They didn't take care of the football in this game, and they won a game where 2 years ago, that's Chiefs football. The Chiefs really weren't the better team, but they made just enough plays in the end to win, and that's what they did today. It was ugly. It was gritty. It was a team win, but man, they've got a lot of stuff to clean up. And I know Andy Reid always talks about, we got to clean this up and that up. The special teams, Dave Tobe, I know he's not on the hot seat, but what the hell, man? Every single kickoff results in a flag. Every single, special teams, whether it's a kick or a punt, there's always a flag on the play. It's always on the Chiefs, and it's just like, what are you doing, Dave Tobe? Like, at a certain point, it reflects poorly on you that your players continue to fall into the same mistakes. But I digress, because again, Harrison Butker was money in this game. He gave you 15 of your 23 points, and I think, without Harrison Butker, you don't win this game. And my biggest fear was that with time winding down in the game where you needed to kick that field goal to tie it at 20, I thought it would have been very Chiefs-esque this year for him to shank that kick. But for him to make that kick at the end of regulation to tie it and then kick the game winner in overtime, props to Harrison Butker. He's got to be my MVP. But also, if we just look at this Chiefs offense, the Chiefs hadn't had a 100-yard rusher or receiver this year, and in this game they got both because Kareem Hunt ran the ball 30 times for 104 and 1 touchdown, and Rashee Rice had 8 catches for 141. I mean, Rashee Rice, when the game was on the line, he had that massive catch on 4th down. He also was able to put them into field goal territory. Rashee Rice was great today, and he was battling through injuries. Xavier Worthy had 4 catches for 59 yards. There were times where I was frustrated with him, and it almost seemed like, you got to catch the ball or come back to the ball. Travis Kelce had 4 for 43. Brashard Smith had 3 for 31. Kareem Hunt also had 3 catches for 26. Noah Gray had 3 for 25, and in fact, that long catch of 17 yards, he ended up, actually that was not the 17-yarder, but he ended up getting concussed on a play late in the game, but he was able to catch the ball without even it hitting his hands. Noah Gray made a huge play in this game. I'm just looking at it. Clyde Edwards-Helaire getting a carry in 2025, that's malpractice. He had 5 carries for 8 yards. Goodness gracious, guys. What are we doing? Clyde Edwards-Helaire is as effective as if I was out there. Get rid of him. I don't even know why you have him on the active roster. Why do you continue to elevate him? So, when I look at it, yeah, the Chiefs won this game and it's great. You'd much rather win this game and have issues than lose it and still have those same issues. But the red zone execution has to get better. They've got to find a way. They could have won this game in regulation, but they didn't do it. And, part of that is because Lou Anarumo and that Colts defense gave the Chiefs a ton of challenges all day long. But what Tony Romo said on the broadcast, and I think it is so fitting, that not only do the Chiefs have way more success running the football when they're coming from under center, but Mahomes would always go over the middle of the field. He kept saying to throw outside, the tackles. Get outside. Try to find that space, near the boundaries. And they had some success when they did that. And so I do think that going forward, Patrick Mahomes is going to have to play better because there were a couple times today where he did miss some big throws. He didn't trust his receivers downfield, and it's just like, man, and Tony Romo also said this, that Pat was going through his progression or his reads way too quickly. He was almost so antsy to make a play that he wasn't seeing the field. And I think that's something that, this was a playoff game. Patrick Mahomes put the team on his back, and there were multiple times where he scrambled or made a throw that you thought to yourself, man, this guy is dialed in. This is the season. Everybody on that team, as it went into the fourth quarter and the Chiefs were trailing by 11, they knew that this was the season. Because if the Chiefs would have lost, they would have dropped to 5-6. And at that point, with all the tiebreakers and issues you've had, it felt like the Chiefs needed to respond. And that's what they did in this game. They finally responded. They finally were able to close out a one-score game, and it resulted in a win. The Chiefs were 12-0 last year in one-score wins, in one-score games. They won all of those, which was like an NFL record. So far this year, they were 0-5. Now they're 1-5, and that is a great thing. So I do think that this was a great win. They need to continue to build off this. You got a short week against Dallas on Thanksgiving. That's going to be a tough matchup. The Chiefs have a lot to clean up because, again, they turned the ball over today. They weren't executing in the red zone. They ran the ball effectively, but they only ran it effectively when they ran under center. I don't know why we even have, those shotgun draws. Throw those out of the playbook. They don't work. They just do not work. But I mean, that's a gutsy win. That was a full roster, full 60 minutes, and then some, and change. We got bonus football today. This was a gutsy, hard win against one of the better teams in the AFC, and you saw multiple times in this game, the Chiefs defense forced Daniel Jones to make a play, forced Daniel Jones to beat them, and in the first half, he was making those plays, and then when it truly mattered, and they dialed up the pressure, they brought the heat, Daniel Jones withered away. And Jonathan Taylor, the guy that was praised for being an MVP candidate, one of the best running backs in football this year, the best running back in football, 16 carries for 58 yards. The Chiefs defense stopped the run, and they stopped one of the best running backs, in the last decade to 58 yards on 16 carries. You're going to take that. Again, Kareem Hunt out rushing Jonathan Taylor was not on my bingo card, but it took, all of Kareem Hunt's effort. It took all of Rashee Rice's effort. It took all of Patrick Mahomes, in this game for the Chiefs to win. And hopefully this is the game that turns the season around. Because now you're 6-5. You feel like, okay, we just beat a good team at home in a one-score game. We can win these games. Because now there's some confidence that when you get in these situations, you have the experience of winning a close game. They didn't have that. Every single game they won relatively easily. And so now you've been in a close game with a team that you could see again in the playoffs, and you beat them. And the Chiefs have not had a lot of success this year at beating good teams. This is a statement win. This is a season-changing win. And, I tweeted out in the fourth quarter, I thought the game was over. I thought with what we've seen so far this season from the coaching staff, from the players, the execution, I didn't think that they were going to rally from down 11, with the Colts defense being as good as they were. But, props to Patrick Mahomes and the offense for making plays. My game ball goes to the defense and Steve Spagnuolo. Again, 4 consecutive 3-and-outs. You don't win this game without the Chiefs championship defense showing up. And Chris Jones putting the defensive line on his freaking back. I mean, there was no one on that defensive line that could get any pressure. George Karlaftis, nothing. Charles Omenihu, 0. Mike Dana, goose egg. But guess what? Chris Jones brought it. And when they needed pressure, they were able to force it with, bringing the linebackers and Tranquill and Bolton, who did look a little shoddy in coverage. But when did they not look shoddy in coverage? So I think there are a lot of positives you can take away. There still are a lot of negatives. You gotta clean stuff up. Andy Reid's been talking about cleaning stuff up for the entire season. They haven't done it. The Chiefs are at a crossroads right now. You got a huge win. You're 6-5. Are you going to let this win propel you into the playoffs, or are you going to come off a short week on Thanksgiving in Dallas and look bad, and Dallas beats you, you're right back at 6-6, and then you feel like, okay, again, we have to climb out of this hole? I think it's a good thing the Chiefs obviously won this game, but you can't celebrate like they made the playoffs, because they didn't. Now, if they would have lost this game, I would have kissed their playoff hopes goodbye. I don't think they'd make the playoffs if they lost this game to the Colts, but you've got a sign of life. You're still breathing, and Patrick Mahomes might not have looked great for, the first 3 quarters of this game. He finishes with, 346 yards passing. He was 29 of 46. He did throw that one interception that was tipped up at the line and picked by that edge rusher. It happens. Seemingly it happens all the freaking time. But in a must-win game, in a have-to-have-it game, Patrick Mahomes showed up late in the fourth quarter and said, you know what? Just get on my back. I'm going to take us to where we need to go. And he had multiple throws, multiple scrambles, where it just seemed like, okay, this is vintage Mahomes. He's not going to allow this team to lose. This entire team knew the severity of this game, the urgency, and while they didn't really find it in the first 3 quarters, they found that sense of urgency in the fourth. I think they all knew, if we lose this game, season's over. So it was good to see that fire. It was good to see that fight. You're still in the fight, but it's only going to get harder and more challenging as we continue to go along. But the Chiefs are still breathing. They're still alive. They just upset the Indianapolis Colts at Arrowhead Stadium in overtime by the final score of 23-20. What an incredible win. It took all 60 minutes and then some, but the Chiefs found a way to win a gutsy, tough win at home. And the fans, you better be juiced up because this was a win that could change the tides of this season. But that's all I've got for this post-game show. Hit that like button on this video. Subscribe to this channel for more daily Chiefs content. Until next time, guys, thank you for watching this video. And as always, go Chiefs.